Hey everybody, I'm back with another interview for you. I know you guys are loving these interviews and I appreciate all the positive feedback. I know when I was in school, there's so many specialties you can go into with your acute care certification, and it's sort of overwhelming and scary when you don't know what you want to do. So you guys are gonna love hearing about my friend Jessica, who is a fairly new grad NP who works in neuro-interventional surgery. And she has a very diverse background that has combined together to create this perfect niche for her and this experience that she has as a nurse. So you're going to love her story. If we haven't met yet, my name is Bree. I'm a nurse practitioner. I make content for nurses, NPs, and students. Welcome. Okay, Jessica, I want to take just a minute. Would you tell everybody a little bit of your story, your career journey, how you ended up where you are today?
All right, well, where do I start? I started nursing in 2008. I became a cardiac step-down nurse. I loved that. I actually wanted to do ED, but felt that I needed a little bit more experience. So I decided to jump into cardiology, and I absolutely loved it. From my step-down cardiac unit, I went into the cath lab. I did pre and post cath lab and loved that. Did that for quite some time, and then I went into ICU. I did neuro ICU, kind of surgical trauma. It was a combination of a lot of different diagnoses in that department, and then I decided to pursue my nurse practitioner degree and ended up doing my acute care nurse practitioner.
Why did you decide to do the acute care route rather than FNP? You know, so many people are torn between this FNP acute care thing. Will I get a job here? Won't I? Did you know immediately you wanted to do acute care?
Absolutely, I did. It's not that I didn't like the outpatient setting. I knew that I could see adults. Children and OBGYN was not my passion. I definitely wanted to see more adults. I wanted to see a variety of different diagnoses, mainly in the hospital setting, and be able to do outpatient if I needed to, but mainly adults.
Yep. I think so many people get hung up on this, I'm not going to find a job in the hospital setting, or there are not as many acute care jobs. I think people don't realize there are a ton, way more than you think, because you can go into so many different arenas and practice. But also, if you work in a hospital and you're going to go into primary care, have you ever worked in primary care? Like, what do you like right now? Pick what you like right now and focus on that, because you can always go back and get a post-cert. Okay, and so how was your process with school? Did you find it overwhelming? Did you work while you were in school?
I actually did. I went to, I have 2 kids, have family, and I went to school while I was working. My first year I did full-time, and then I realized I'm not gonna be able to do this. So I went part-time. Ended up doing part-time pretty much my second year of nurse practitioner school. And I went to UAB, which was absolutely wonderful school. I felt extremely prepared afterwards. I felt like that school really focuses a lot on differential diagnosis, and they just help us kind of not have tunnel vision. And they just did an excellent job of getting me prepared for when I started my job.
That's really good to hear. I mean, they have a very good reputation. I've had a lot of students from there. They do a really good job preparing people to be NPs. So tell me how you decided on neuro-interventional surgery.
So I'm going to be completely transparent with you. I actually hated neurology when I first started my career.
Most people do. I feel like you either love it or you hate it, and people are like, brain, I don't want to work with brains.
Well, I loved hearts. Hearts were definitely my passion, just vessels. I was obsessed with vessels. I think that's why I went into the cath lab, why I went into kind of open heart when I first became a nurse. But it's beautiful the way your career can just build on top. Yeah. And I think I limited myself to just arteries from here down. And I didn't realize that there was so much more vasculature going on in the brain that I was kind of in the dark. So when I worked in the ICU, I was exposed to so much more neurology. And I think it was this challenge, the pure challenge of nothing presents the same, and I felt like an investigator. I had to figure it out, and I really enjoyed that. And that's what got me into going into neurology, was the investigative work that it took to find out, well, why did this patient have this, and it opened up Pandora's box. And
I think that a lot of that you're speaking to is sort of the transition from bedside work to working as an NP. I also really, what I love so much about her story is that I remember when she was a student and she was working in the ICU, and she said, what do you want to do? What's your goal? What's your goal? you know, she always wanted to do cardiology something or other, but she was working in a surgical trauma ICU. So how, you know, where were you going to end up with that? And then this position opened, and how she was able to use these two very different backgrounds to combine, that is the perfect amount of experience for what she's doing exactly right now. And you didn't even know that this position would be available to
Absolutely
you. You were
not.
taking a big leap of faith to get to that.
Yes, absolutely.
I love that. Okay, so you told me what you love about your specialty. What don't you love about your specialty?
I think the one thing with going into a specialty period is you get a little bit, you kind of have to have a little bit of tunnel vision when it comes to the organ that you're dealing with. So if you're going to do cardiology, your focus is going to be heart. You're not really going to care about the brain. Or in my case, I have to care about the brain. Occasionally, I have to care about the heart, but everything else is thrown to kind of the wayside.
Yeah.
I mean, unless it's a differential in figuring out my diagnosis. So if there's electrolytes that are off balance, unless it's causing a seizure, I don't really care about it. So it's just, I'm used to working in the ICU and having to take care of symptom management of, you know, head to toe. Whereas when you go into a specialty, it's not that you forego the head to toe, it's just more focused.
Sure,
And
Well, and you have other
miss-
specialists doing other things. So
Yes.
you're not quite the quarterback anymore, you're just doing your piece of it.
Exactly, and I do, that's one thing I do miss, because I have to kind of catch myself and say, hey, you know, we're
Not my lane.
not my lane, let me just kind of stick to
Yeah,
my lane. And
sure.
as a new grad, it's something that I'm definitely developing, staying a little bit more focused.
Sure. How long has it been since you graduated?
So I graduated actually August of last year, 2020, and I took my boards within a month, and then found this job a month after that. So
Yeah.
I knew what I wanted, and I know I went after it.
So that kind of segues into one of my other questions, which is, did you find the market to be saturated? Was that something you experienced or a burden for you?
I think throughout nurse practitioner school, I got constantly told that by other people. Well, I don't want to go into nurse practitioner school because it's oversaturated. It's going to be impossible to find a job.
Yep.
Completely
Everybody hears
false
that.
information. False information. There are so many jobs out there, and for example, the job that I found as a neuro-interventional surgery nurse practitioner was something that I dreamed about. I said, if I could have any job, I was willing to go outside of my passion, absolutely, and learn something new. But I absolutely wanted this job, and I wrote a letter to the physician that was coming on to start the program in my facility. And that is very gutsy. I wrote to him and said, this is what I want to do. I want to join this team, and I'd love to meet you. And I was willing to go out on a limb to go after what I wanted to do. And when it came time to interviewing, they knew who I were. They knew who I was because of that.
I love that. I love that you share that, because one of the things I think people don't realize, I mean, I do feel like it is a bit of a saturated market in the region where I live, and in critical care, it is a bit of a saturated market, but it doesn't mean it's oversaturated. I think there's a difference between saturated and competitive and oversaturated.
Yeah.
It is what you make it, and it is, you know, when you have a goal, when you know what you want to do, it really helps you, because you know the opportunities that are there for you to make a whole for yourself. And it takes things like that, like cold calling, like writing letters, like approaching people even when there's not a position listed. You never know what's out there too. You just got to be a hustler.
Yeah.
You got to be willing to go after what you want. You can't just go into this because you're tired of working at the bedside or because you think you're going to make more money. If you got a goal, you can make it happen, for
Absolutely.
sure. So I love that part of your story.
I had my resume with me all the time.
Yeah.
So you never know who you're going to meet, and I think networking is extremely important. Personality is really important too when you get a job.
Sure.
A lot of people think it's skill and experience. I think at the end of the day, 80% of getting the job is your personality a good fit for the job?
Well, sure, because skills can be trained. Personality cannot be taught.
Exactly. Absolutely.
I say that all the time to folks when they're interviewing. We interview for personality.
Yes, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
You're working with people, and if you don't like to work with people, then you're in the wrong job.
Right, and this is going to be your family.
That's
This
right.
is your family away from your family, so you want to have a good work relationship with people. How has your onboarding been? I mean, do you feel like you had enough time for orientation, or do you feel like you were just kind of let loose? Do you feel prepared?
Actually, I came in, and that was one of the things that I asked for in my interview. I interviewed in multiple places, And I think it's good to do that. It's not necessarily the best thing to lay yourself completely thin everywhere, but I did like interviewing in different places because I saw what they offered and saw what other places offered, so that when it came to the job that I wanted, I had something to offer them and also ask them for. I said, well, you know, there's other facilities that are offering an onboarding or a fellowship that's 6 months. Are you willing to do something like that? There's courses that are being taught in different places. Are you willing to pay for those courses so that I can, you know, be at my optimal, you know, education for this position?
That's great.
So, you know, I said, you know, there's different courses that are available. I looked up courses before I even got the position and said, would you be willing to pay for this, this, and this so that I can be completely prepared for the job? So those were other options that I came into where my onboarding was wonderful. I think I had my own personal neurologist for 2 months. It was great. They taught me how to read CTs, how to read MRIs, and I just kind of dove in. And there's only so much that they're going to be able to give me. I'm going to have to go home. I'm going to have to study. This is going to be a lifetime learning. And I felt that I'm at my 7th month now, and had I not had that onboarding that they gave me, the education that they gave me, I call it I have like my sidekick. I had a sidekick. I had somebody who knew more about the job than I did, and I had them available at all times. So it just depends on the team that you're going into, how organized they are, and how willing they are to pass on what they have.
Absolutely. I mean, I think if you go to work at a university hospital or an academic center, it's very different than if you go to a community hospital where there's not something already established. I mean, many places, especially as the years have gone by, have a very developed program for onboarding that, you know, we're going to have you orienting for these many weeks, and then we're going to review at such and such weeks, and then we'll see when you're ready. It just depends on where you go, the kind of experience you're going to get. So I'm glad you've had a wonderful experience.
Yeah, it has been. And I didn't expect that because it's kind of hard when you're not if you're not working at an academic facility, they don't kind of focus on that. But what's beautiful is you can be the start of that.
Absolutely.
Ripple.
You can build something.
And that's what my hope is to never forget how I felt when I first started the job, so that somebody else coming in has an even smoother process behind me.
I love that. What is your schedule like?
So my schedule currently is 7 days on, 7 days off.
Oof.
And I know a lot of people are like, whoa, how do you do it? How do you do it? I think there's perks and there's positives and negatives with every schedule. With this schedule, the beautiful part is the 7 days off. Like, I just got off a beautiful vacation, didn't even think about this place. And I didn't have to worry about, well, do I have enough time? Am I going to put more burden on my coworkers because I'm gone? Do I have to find somebody to cover me? I don't have to worry about any of that. I can just go on my vacation. I can plan my vacation when I wish. If I want to take a vacation every 2 weeks, I can take a vacation every 2 weeks. I'm literally working half a year.
So do you do 12s?
12s. I do 12s. And so that's the positive, is the great time that you have off. I do like also the continuity of care. While I'm with the patient, that patient knows my face. I know everything, the ins and outs. If something changes, if their color changes, anything, I'm gonna know it because I've personally seen this patient. And the sign off to the physician, the primary physicians, they have the same schedule as us, so we're both on the same plane the entire time. So we're just kind of, it's nice camaraderie, definitely between a hospitalist group and our group. We know exactly what's going on at all times. Yeah. So that's another perk of having a 7 day off, 7 day on, 7 day off. Negatives is obviously, you're great on your day 1, day 2, day 3, maybe day 4, maybe. By day 4, you can definitely see your notes and you can tell the difference from day 1 and day 4. But like I said, it's definitely harder. I would say, working as a nurse, you do your 3 days or 4 days, you picked up that extra shift and you're good to go, and you get 2 or 3 days off in between. I would say that 7 on, 7 off it's not the easiest schedule, absolutely not. Some people think it's family friendly. I personally do not think it's family friendly. My husband
don't see you for a week.
My husband says I feel like a single parent for one entire week. So if you don't have children, absolutely wonderful schedule. If your children are grown and they're taking care of themselves and they're on their own, absolutely great schedule. But these are also things that can be negotiated while, before you get the job. So it depends if they want a specific schedule, but you have nothing to lose by asking.
That's absolutely true. And I mean, I'm the kind of person I always see the good in everything. So like, I love the positives you have with that. I like the positives that my schedule is flexible. So I do, just like a nurse, I do 3 random days throughout the week, every week. I like that when they're interspersed and I have time with my family, I don't feel like I'm missing out on my family, but when I work them in a row, it's much easier. So I don't know what's better. You just gotta figure out what works for you.
Absolutely.
So the last question is, did you make more starting out as an NP than you did as a bedside nurse?
I did, absolutely. I think that really depends on how long you've been a nurse.
Sure.
So if you've been a nurse 2-3 years, yeah, when you become an NP, you're gonna make way more money. But I was more at the end of, like, nurses by their 15-year mark are pretty much maxed out.
Yeah.
I was pretty much close to maxing out, so I knew what to expect going in. But like I said, I did my research. I went to different facilities. I interviewed at different facilities, saw what they were all offering, and when I went to the job that I wanted, and I had cards to play with. I had said, well, this facility's offering this facility's offering that facility's offering that. What can you offer me?
Yeah.
So at that point, you are selling you. They need you.
That's true. I think a lot of people get so bogged down by I just need a job. Any job will do.
No.
You forget that you are providing value to them, and you have to keep that inherently in mind.
And that really played in my favor. I will say it just like that, because when you know what the market's like, and it's not just hearsay, it's from the mouth of the person that's interviewing.
Someone else has offered me this. What are you willing to pay for
I
me?
have 3 contracts in front of me, and that is such a different position than just going in and saying, well, I want what I just need to make money. At this point, I knew what my passion was, and I really emphasize that during your clinical time, you do clinicals with jobs that you actually want, not just where you can find some clinicals, especially your last semester. Your last semester to be about, where do I want to find a job? I want these people to see my personality. I want them to see how I work with them. I want them to offer me a job by the time I leave. If you have that mentality, it will change the way you think about going to get a job. If you don't get a job offer, that's okay. At the end of the day, you know what you want to go into, and there's so many different specialties out there. If you don't want to do just one thing, it's kind of like when we go into nursing. They're like, oh yeah, go into med surg if you don't know what you want to do. Nobody likes med surg, but it's somewhere to start. It's somewhere to start where you figure out where your passion is, if you haven't figured it out by the time you graduate.
Well, that's true. It's just like you said, your first job is probably not going to be your last job. So you start somewhere, but if you can find your passion, your niche, start there.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes a difference, because when you interview for something that you love, it's completely oozing out of you with every word you say. And it makes a difference when they can tell. They can tell when you love it or when you're just there to collect a paycheck.
That's true. That's true. Thank you so much, Jessica. You have so much passion for what you do. I have loved watching every second of your journey. Just watching you go from indecision about what do I do, I love all these things, to finding the exact right thing for you. You're rocking it. I'm so proud of you and happy for your journey. Guys, you can do this. You can do this. Look at this cool lab. Look at this lab where we're at.
This is
arrived.
where I work.
It's a great specialty and a great practice. So for any of you who have not done a rotation in a neurocritical care, go check it out. You might like it.
Yeah.
Bye. She works in Neuro-Interventional
surgery. You had it right.
Okay, let me do it one more take just in case that didn't work out. Okay.